Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Idiosyncratic Fables, a part of Wilderness Fire Productions, where we are cultivating the passion for books, audiobooks, and storytelling. Since time immemorial, we have been storytellers. Everybody has a story to tell, and I want to hear yours. I'm your host, James, and today we are diving deep into the spicy, the emotional, and wildly talented world of romance narration. If you've ever fogged up your earbuds with a steamy scene, laughed out loud in public, or straight up cried in your car because the performance hit you right in the feels, you already know the power of a truly gifted narrator. And today's guest is one of the very best. She's the self-proclaimed Rose of Romance. She's narrated more than 130 audiobooks, most of them for USA Today and New York Times bestselling authors. She's a Midwest girl who grew up reading to her stuffed animals, survived major surgery by falling in love with audiobooks, and now brings characters to life so vividly that she laughs, cries, and sometimes even fogs up the glass in her booth. Please give me a huge welcome to the one and only Lexi Evans. Lexi, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So you call yourself the Rose of Romance. Talk to us about that title. What does that mean to you personally?
Yeah, absolutely. So I I've been doing this for 7.5 years, and I felt like this past summer, maybe I wanted to bring a little bit more of myself into my branding. And just growing as a person and discovering the inner voice as well.
Right.
I have just been really drawn to roses. Very, very much. It's just like they mean a lot to me, and I started just kind of thinking about that. Because yes, you think of romance, you think of roses and chocolates and stuff like that, but there's more to it than just that. And a rose not only has this beautiful scent and petals and blooms, but also it has thorns
Mm.
and roots. And sometimes it isn't in bloom, but it's still whole. And so I started feeling that other side of the rose, and that those thorns are there for a reason, and that's okay.
Ooh, good call.
Yeah. And so even when we are soft and delicate and sensual and, all the things that the rose represents, typically we also have those thorns in the stems and the roots, and that supports and protects the rose. So I kind of say you get both sides, and I like to bring that into my narration as well.
Ooh. All right. So let's use that and segue into my next question then, because that it's almost like you read my notes, Lexi. How would you say romance narration became more than just a job? Like it sounded like your true calling.
Yeah. I would say because on the surface, it seems like, oh, romance is just, lovey-dovey, or it's just happily ever after, but it's not. It is, there are so many different levels of romance. And sometimes, you will have a broken heart. You go through a metamorphosis throughout relationships and throughout journeys. And that I connect with very, very much, because that to me is the evolution of the human experience. And, you know, um, just being able to express and create that art form through the human voice, and be able to mirror the experiences that the characters are having and that I can relate with in some way, using that pain also that we've gone through and creating
Mm.
something new from it, I feel is not just, a way of dealing with it, but also we're alchemizing those emotions and bringing something new to it. And that hopefully the listeners will be able to see themselves, even for just a moment in that story, in that narration, and be like, wow, I feel seen, I feel heard. So that's where I really connect with romance.
That's fantastic. Now, growing up as an only child, reading aloud to your stuffed animals and dolls,
Yes.
let's fast forward to when you discovered audiobooks while recovering from surgery and your husband encouraging you to pursue it. Walk us through that aha moment when you knew this was the career you were meant for.
Sure. Okay. So, yes, ever since I was a little kid, I I've loved to read. And I was an only child, so I would read, I would play with, my dolls by myself, games by myself, both sides of the board game, um, and, you create, I guess, your own friends with your dolls and stuffed animals and things. And so, yeah, I would read to them. And then also my mom, she loved listening to me read. And my dad also would read out loud to me and to my mom too. He would read Sherlock Holmes at night, and I would listen to him. And he read me The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You
Oh,
know, and I still have that book. And he wrote a little note for me in it saying he couldn't wait to read it to me. I still have that tucked in the jacket. So that was really important, and it was part of me. And so um, when I was recovering from surgery in 2018, I there was only so much I could watch on TV, you know, and it's like, okay. And I decided, I'm going to just explore what my Kindle and Amazon membership all has. And I had tons of books on my Kindle. And then I was just reading through it and I saw, oh, audiobook narration. Now I do remember as a kid too having like books on tape, you know,
oh yeah.
listening to that and that was I love that too. But so I ended up listening, or I was reading, I downloaded the book and then I saw, hey, try out the audiobook narration. And it was the Iron Fae series that Christine Vam had narrated. And I started listening to that and I was like, oh my gosh, this is just bringing a whole nother level to this book. And I was hooked and I like binge listened to everything. And I was like, wow. So at this time, my husband was also getting into voiceover. All right. So he was doing like commercials and he was
Okay.
doing ads and different things like that. And he's not a reader like I am. He really never has been. He's more like techie and like, computer stuff and things. But for
Sure.
me, I've always been a reader. And so I was like, I wonder, how do you get into this? I mean, I've been told so many times throughout my life that, oh, you have an amazing voice. And when I was in retail management, I would answer the phone. People thought I was a recording, you know? and and so they're like, oh, you have such an amazing voice. I'm like, well, thank you. And I have some theater background, little plays and things, not anything major, but um, I how much I fell in love with this. And I was like, I need to research what this is all about. How do you get into this? And so that was in 2018,
Mhm.
before the pandemic, before there's been this big explosion of narrators and everything. And so, um, starting out, there wasn't as much information out there as there is now. But I did find ACX. Um, I found Bill DeWeese also. He's a great vocal coach that my husband had actually, he had done some coaching with him. But my very first audiobook coach was Christine Vam, the
Oh,
first
wow.
narrator. that I listened to and fell in love with.
The
With
Iron Fae herself. How about that?
Yes, and I'm like, it just came full circle, you know?
Right.
Yeah, and so I coached with her then, and it opened up my career in the biggest ways, and I found that voice. She helped me find, as they say, the money voice, like,
Right.
and she's like, "You are so suited for romance." And not saying you can't do any other, genres, of course, but I do find that I just love the genre,
Right.
very much, yeah. So that's how I got started.
So when you were coaching with her,
Mhm.
what is one piece of training that completely transformed how you approach a script?
Let's see, she would say, "You have to truly be in that scene." If your mind is starts to wander, and this can be hard with ADHD, but if your mind starts to wander to, "Oh, I need to make sure that I pick up oranges from the grocery store," or
Mm,
something, you need to stop, you know? Um, but also in the very beginning, because this was in the beginning of my career too, is that, she would say, okay, there was a scene that she had me work through with her, and there was a character behind a wooden door and was, you know, shouting to the character that was in that home. So, like, how would you do that? Where are you meant, like, where would you be, and how would that sound? How would you project your voice,
hmm.
if you're behind this door? You're not gonna speak like I am speaking right now. We're gonna do it a little different. Um, and also she would say, "Get creative." Um, if even with the side characters that maybe don't really seem like there's much to them, create a little story in your own mind about them, you know, um, and get so you can give yourself some material to go on, even if it's not really provided there. You yourself are making them a real person, not just the side voice character.
Right.
So, those little things, and there's so much more. And like she was phenomenal. Absolutely.
That's really cool. You started primarily with indie authors and have now worked with publishers and
Yes.
big name authors.
Yes.
How has that evolution changed your workflow or the types of projects you're drawn to?
Um, you know, I would say I still have a huge, huge heart for working with indie authors. I like to say I'm a hybrid, because
Me
I
too.
yes, I love my work with publishers. I do, but I also really love my work with indie authors. And my biggest thing is being able to connect with the story. And um one thing I do love about indie authors as well is that I can usually I'm usually able to talk with them like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I recently I've did this beautiful book. Um it's ended up being right under 25 hours finished audio.
Whew, that's a long one.
Yes. But it is a slow burn, steamy, behind closed doors kind of romance that is a fantasy romance. And
Ooh.
um, the writing just was amazing. But what I loved is I was able to talk with the author, and she told me why she even started writing this book and how she used the grief from her mother's death to heal through it. In certain scenes, she would tell me, this is why this is important, or this. And just knowing that in the back of my mind, I mean, I was in tears many times in my
Right.
booth because not only was it an emotional scene, but I knew how much this meant to her.
Sure.
And so I do love that. And, with publishers, I love being able to, there is a sense of recognition and feeling like okay, I'm being seen now, like
Right.
they see me and you feel acknowledged as a professional and as established in this industry and being cast with some other really amazing narrators that you get to connect with and may be the only way that you would connect with them. So I love that. I love being able to collaborate in that way. And it's exciting for sure.
That's really cool. Now, you're also known for incredibly thorough prep work, reading the entire book, color coding characters, noting accents, personality quirks, and even building playlists from author mood boards. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Walk us through a typical day or even week in your book and how you live in the book so deeply.
Sure. Yes. That is for me, I'm a planner in that way. And like I said, I want to know as much as I can about my characters and also maybe and if I can, about the story and what inspired the author to write this particular scene or the book at all. And if they do have a playlist, I ask for that and I load it up on my phone. And sometimes they'll even say, these chapters or these scenes go with this song. And if I know that I'm going to be recording that, I will listen to that song beforehand
Ooh,
because music is so incredibly powerful. Just like the spoken word is
right,
incredibly powerful. Music too can just, I mean, it can put you it can bring out those emotions, you put on like a salsa kind of song, you're going to be grooving and
right,
but then like if there's a more serious song and then it's slower or an orchestra piece that is just more somber, you're going to feel that
correct.
too. So, I like that. I get very inspired by that. And yes, going through color coding everything that way. And that was one thing that Christine taught me, saying how incredibly important that is, because then your narration flows more as you're narrating it, um, and it just it really helps me know how to bring these characters out as much as I possibly can. Um, and I want to represent as well
Right.
as well as I can.
You are 100% spot on with uh, um, the ideology behind music because it absolutely sets the stage. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
already thinking of various songs that are just coming to mind right now, depending upon the, atmosphere I want. Like, as
Right.
a prime example, yesterday, I chose to sit on my front porch and have a cigar. The very first artist that came to mind was like this kind of slow burn jazz artist, Diana
Mm.
Krall. So, listeners out there, if you're not familiar with Diana Krall and you want that low light lounge music, which is that kind of like deep alto and yet smoky female voice, Diana Krall is the one you want to go with. And then vice versa, if I'm making pizza, like I often do every week, I'm going to throw on some Italian instrumental
Yes.
music because it just sets the stage perfectly. And then
Absolutely.
with my childhood roots in Louisiana, I am also known to make a pretty mean gumbo here at the house.
Ooh,
And I've got a playlist. I can't take credit for making it. My dad made it, but it's called Couchon de lait, which I'll put that one on, and it's just ripe with all kinds of Cajun music. So it's perfect to cook gumbo to.
that's amazing. I love it. Setting the scene.
Oh, 100%. So you create a welcome packet for authors with character sheets,
Mhm.
dream casting, etc. And you even give them a 15-minute sample early on. What
Yeah.
is the best, or in this case, even funniest, author feedback you've ever gotten on a sample?
Oh boy. Hmm.
Gonna make you work for this one.
Yes, right? Um, Let me think here. Hmm. I will say I have worked with this amazing author. She's become a great friend as well, Morgan Comnick Strawn,
Okay.
and she has such a sense of humor when it comes to her books, and she's very thorough with uh, the way that she helps answer the questions, which I appreciate so very much. But she she has these characters that it's one in particular. The male character is Darrington,
Okay.
and Jeremy Darrington. All right, and she has a lot of references to the 90s, lots of little throwbacks, but just the way that she describes him and how he's in love with Hannah Montana.
Ah.
So he's this really rich, kind of wealthy, mm, like he could be a model on GQ, but he can belt out Hannah Montana scenes. That those are funny. And then the character I played in her book was Val, and she is just this very more serious but witty, and she doesn't take any kind of antics from him, you know. And she comes up with, she comes up with the best one-liners to just kind of like get right to him, with her wit. And so some of those things, I I would say was some of the best material I got from an author filling out the the welcome packet and just having fun, with that. So yeah, that's I'm trying to think if there's any others that stand out, but that one definitely did. Even where we were coming up with, like beef-tastic, or, just like
Right.
little things that the character would say, and she loved that too.
Yeah. With what I know of Mr. Darrington, um, every time I hear his name or even, his character description, I always visualize Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell back in the 90s.
Yes,
Every time.
yes. That is perfect. Oh my
And
goodness.
And then, of course, it was a couple of months ago, I was watching Morgan's live stream on YouTube, and she had Logan and Air on there. And as soon as he put those sunglasses on, I was like, there it is.
Yep.
There it is.
Yep.
Speaking of Mr. Logan and Air, you've done plenty of duet work with him.
Yes. Yes.
What's different about the energy and preparation when you're trading lines versus solo narration, especially in those steamy and emotionally intense scenes?
Yeah. So Logan and I, we actually have our own business together called Love and Lust Productions. And we've been doing this together for about 5 years, where we are each other's official duet partners. Of course, we work with other people,
Right.
but we do. We just have this real easy flow, workflow, and just the way that we seem to understand, um, the scenes together, and our voices just have like a natural chemistry and blend. So when it comes to duet, though, knowing because we actually do a lot of our editing ourselves. We have hired it out before, but what we noticed is that we tend to understand the scene even more. And yes, there is a little bit more work. I mean, actually, a lot more work for us.
Sure.
But knowing, okay, this scene needs these lines that get inserted here needs to breathe a little bit more
Mm.
for that effect, where you have to really be in the story and really listening, to know the timing of that, because the timing in duet narration can make or break the listen. And if the lines are just inserted and you're not really listening to what's going on in the scene, where if maybe it needs to be tightened up a little bit so it's more fast paced back and forth, or it needs to breathe a little bit, and you need to let that moment resonate and stick. that is something that the two of us really specialize in. And I feel that our performances together just bring that out, and the way that we handle our post production as well
Okay.
is just as important there. So, but yeah, we talk about the scene, and we talk about the characters. We talk about, oh my gosh, this scene just, I felt it so, like I'm crying here, kind of thing.
Right.
And I also prep our books to, and I'll share it with him because I am such a thorough prepper. Now he reads it, front to back as well. But I also put things like, um, if this is acceptable to read on social media live or not. Because there are a lot of, especially those steamy scenes that we can't,
Mm-hmm.
So, but those are some things that I do. And then I also flag different scenes that this would be really great to have as an audio clip, as like a teaser, a marketing video, something like that. So I do all those things while I'm prepping as well for duet books that we do.
Fantastic. I'm going to pick your brain more about your company backstage once we're
Yes.
done here.
Okay.
But moving on, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges you've ever faced in the booth, like tracking a dozen distinct voices or tackling a scene that pushed you emotionally? And how did you push through it?
Mm, okay. That's a hard one. I think sometimes possibly it might be if there's something that is a bit triggering,
Mm,
and as a woman, sometimes there are things in the books that can hit a nerve. Not just saying because I'm a woman, um, but there are times when it's just like, whew, okay, maybe it was the way that that character spoke to the FMC, and
right.
it's just like, ooh, that brings me there. But I have said I feel a calling also in some of these scenes that are very difficult to hear, read, experience. I do feel a sort of calling to be the voice of that because not only myself, but those that I love have been victims of things. And depending on how it's written, and most of the time it is written from a very respectful, good way. But even in those hard, really dark moments that the character might go through, depending on how it is presented, I want to be that voice because at those times, there wasn't a voice for us. And so, if I need to take a moment, I will. If it's a little bit much, I'll take a moment and be like, okay, all right, it's all right, But knowing that I can be this voice for those that will be like, wow, this person gets it. This character gets it. She is me. I am her kind of thing. Um, that does help me get through those things, and maybe a good drink afterwards.
Of course. Of course. Now, you've said that voicing a villainess is one of your favorites,
Yes.
and you draw inspiration from TV and movie characters like Sophia from Golden Girls to even the show Lucifer.
Hmm.
Can you share with us a memorable character you've brought to life and the research or trick you used to make her or him just pop?
Oh, you know, I like to say that I rely on some of the Disney characters, honestly, because you know, there's there. Oh, I love some of the villainesses, like Ursula,
Oh,
poor
yeah.
unfortunate soul, like I just I love that energy and just they can be fun. They can be, just like there's this energy about them, that's
Right.
fun to play. Now ultimately, they get what's coming to them usually. But also what I like to learn, there was a show, oh gosh, I want to say like 15 years ago, maybe. Doesn't seem possible, but Once Upon a Time.
I remember that show.
Yes. And it
My
was,
brain wants to tell me that it was 5 years ago,
I
but
know,
I'm
right?
pretty sure it was a little bit longer.
Yes. And one thing I loved about that show, and it was kind of around the same time where you started seeing books and TV and movies showing how the villain became the villain. And I think also I can see myself in that because we all have a choice to make in
We
life.
do.
Through the experiences that we have lived, we have to choose what type of person are we going to be from this? Are we going to let that experience change us for the better? Or are we going to go dark?
Mm,
And I think sometimes there's this almost a temptation at sorts of, you know what? I'm just going to go dark because I have lived in this light for so long. And where has it gotten me? And so, and I think those moments where you kind of feel that, you can then see where the villain came from. Because I don't believe that we're all just naturally born to be this way. There's things that have happened that have
right.
molded us into what we are. But we do have a choice to make. And, sometimes too, it's just like, you're just like, well, just want to watch the world burn kind of thing, but you don't. But, it's, so I feel like there is also those stories of like, I've been there. I understand. Um, the evil queen in Once Upon a Time, Regina, I think it was her name.
Mhm.
Seeing what she went through, you're just like, whoa, that's, you feel her story, and then you so badly want her to choose the good. And then when she did, and then how it backfired, and you just see her getting pushed over and over and over to this side. And then finally she's like, you know what? I am done. I
Mm,
am I'm done being this person. This is who I am now. And there is a lot of power there, even if
right.
it is self-destructive power. Um, it's so that's how I connect. That's how I connect. And I do think that their stories are very important. I do.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
As cheesy as it sounds, but I think very applicable, the very first, storyboard relationship that comes to mind as far as having the necessity for both is the relationship between Batman and Joker.
Mm.
Um, I cannot remember, if it was in the cartoon, the comics, or a video game, but the Joker said to Batman, and I'm gonna paraphrase here, um, "Batman, you need me. You need me to cause the chaos to give you a purpose to do what you do. So therefore, I thrive in this chaos because it makes me happy because I like you. I like what you do, and if there wasn't a me, there wouldn't be a you."
Wow.
Right.
Wow. That's You
Right.
couldn't sum it up any better than that. That's
Right.
wow. Yeah. And for the record, I love Batman.
100%. I am a big advocate for the Batman animated series that came out in the 90s.
Yes.
So good.
Yes. Yes. We actually, Logan and I had a book that we did where one of the characters, he was inspired by the Joker of the cartoon from the 90s.
Ooh,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. He was a jester that
Okay.
um that had that energy, but specifically the cartoon from the 90s. So
Sure.
yes.
I love that. So, speaking of being big advocates, You're a big advocate for reviews and have a not our job to like the book, but to honor the author's truth mindset from your coaches.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give aspiring narrators who are just starting out, especially ones who love romance and spice, but they feel intimidated by the prep or even the industry?
Sure. I would say, hmm, you've you've got to give it time. I am actually working with a narrator who is incredibly talented, and she has 7 books under her belt right now. And she feels that imposter syndrome kind of
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
and you know, almost like a am I ever going to get there kind of thing. And I have told people, and I'll have people come in on my lives when I'm narrating live on social, and they'll be asking, how do you get into this and everything like that. But one thing I have said is that this is not a get rich quick scheme at all.
No, it's not.
And just like if you're going to be, I'll just say, like, my daughter is going to be a teacher. Okay. So she's going to go to college for that. There are certain things that you need to have minimum to be able to be set up for that kind of career. So there's certain costs that you're going to have to invest. There's going to be study that you're going to have to do. And you're going to have to give yourself grace because you're not always going to ace every single test. Um, so with that, knowing there is an investment of sorts, okay, trying to set yourself up for the best success that you can doesn't mean you have to have state of the art everything, top of the line, you know,
Correct.
um, and I have said, as long as your recording quality meets standards, it doesn't matter if you're in a professional booth or if you're in a blanket booth or closet, as long as you meet those standards for the industry, that
Hmm.
doesn't matter. Um, and just knowing that you're going to hear more no's than you do yeses. And I was talking about this on my live last night. I do a guided meditation every single Sunday night. And one thing I said that came out was that you have more success than what you give yourself credit for. And to look at where you are. So even if you have 7 books, even if you have one, even if you don't have any, okay, look at where you have succeeded already. All right. And be truly hold those moments and be grateful for those moments and knowing and believing that more are going to come and to do the work and trust the process and not give up. And we all deal with that imposter syndrome. It will hit out of nowhere like a random derecho, like
Oh, yes.
it will just hit. And sometimes it can be crippling. And I don't remember where I heard this advice, but I have really imprinted it onto my heart. And I share this is that somebody else's success does not mean your failure. And that was really big because when it comes to this stuff, we tend to compare ourselves.
We do.
And and a lot of times too, you don't know what that person had to do to get to where they're at, what you're seeing right now. Um, I know an amazing, wonderful, talented narrator who ended up narrating like 70 books in 1 year. And
Wow.
yeah, and she is crazy talented, but she's like, it about broke me.
Yeah.
And she's like, you don't know what I had to go through behind the booth to do that and what I was going through. So a lot of times we don't know that story,
Mm.
and we just say, oh, wow, 70. Oh, and then, oh my gosh, I only did, 26. Like right away, I'm bringing myself down, even though I need to celebrate that. So it is that mindset of, really looking at where you're at, seeing the reality, and truly not giving up or not listening to others and their opinions that don't matter. Okay. So there are people in the industry where what they say really does hold more weight. Okay. Than someone who has no idea. I'll have people that will just come into a live when I'm recording and they'll say something really mean and then they move on. And I could
Right.
let that comment really get me down, or I can be like, all right, that's their opinion, or they're just in a mood or whatever,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to let that break me. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm kind of like preaching here.
No, it does. It really does. Brought up a couple of things that I wanted to add on to that.
Yeah.
One of the ways that works for me now, this is not, a template answer for all, but one of the ways that I have found to overcome imposter syndrome is to rejoice with those who are rejoicing,
Mm,
celebrate their success, and share their success.
yes. Yeah.
Because if I am willing to step out of my own personal bubble and say, you know what? Good for you. I know the work that went into this, not on a,
Mhm.
I watched you work, but because
Right.
I've, done something similar, I know how hard you busted your butt. So yeah, I'm going to, shout it from the rooftops if I have to. Good job.
Right.
Well done. And then once that, box has been checked, and I come back and go, all right, where can I go with my career? The imposter
Mhm.
syndrome no longer has a voice. It's
Right.
gone.
Yes. I love that. Yes. I recently I was sad seeing everyone, going to the Audis, and I know APAC was not in person this year, but you see all these people that you're connected with and you see all the
Mhm.
pictures and it's great.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, because I had the privilege to go last year and it was awesome.
What fun.
And so this year I'm like, you know what? I could sit here and feel like I'm missing out, right? But instead, what can I do? So I actually put together what I called Lexi's red velvet or velvet rose red carpet event. It was all
Okay.
online. And I dressed up head to toe like I was heading to the Audis.
Okay.
And I invited, I want to say there was 6 other narrators or voice talent. And I spotlighted them. And for like 20-25 minutes. And I'm like, we're on the red carpet here together and spotlighted them. And for 3 hours, I did this. And the energy and just the celebration of where we're at.
Yeah.
And I had narrators that I had my wonderful friend who is just starting out to someone who has been in this industry for almost 40 years,
Wow.
you know, um, and it was an amazing night to just celebrate where we're at. And so sometimes taking that moment and be like, well, I'm feeling this right now. Okay. I'm going to feel that. But then what am I going to do with this?
Right.
You know? So yes, I love what you said. That made me think of that.
The other thing I was going to bring up was in response to the person on your TikTok live who said the mean comment and went their way.
hmm
Um, my oldest daughter is friends with a gentleman who lives, about 2 hours away, but he comes into town for the modeling shows that's hosted by 237 Collective.
Mm,
Um, he has a tattoo on the side of his neck that simply says, "Let them."
yes.
We offered up our guest bedroom to him so that way he wouldn't have to drive back, the evening of the fashion show and, pitch black 2 hours. Like, no, dude, it's cheaper than a hotel. Please. We have no problem with you staying here. And so during dinner, we asked him, we're like, hey, can you tell us about that tattoo on your neck? He goes, yeah, it's simply let them. And it's up to you to fill in the blanks. For me, it's a personal reminder that I'm not going to let the negative things affect me. And
Yes.
so if somebody wants to be a total jerk, let them be a jerk. I am going to be who I am, and what they
Mhm.
say or what they do is not going to influence what my day is going to look like. And both my son and I turned and looked, and we're like, dude, we can respect that. Absolutely. I mean,
Yes.
I wanted to give this young man a standing ovation for that. I was like, you're only in your early 20s and you've got that mentality? Dude, my hat's off to you.
Mhm.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. James, I love that. And it's awesome that you mentioned that because I have actually read the book Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins.
Mm,
And I want to do a kind of like a book club kind of review over that. And that is exactly it. And it blew my mind in the best way because it was like you said, he was like, let them. We can't
yeah.
change that. But I love where she also says, okay, let them, now let me.
Mm,
And because we can't change what they're going to say, we can't change how they're going to react. We can't change the reviews that people are going to leave us.
right.
But what we can do, what am I going to do from this? You
Right.
know? And it's so empowering. And yeah, so wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. It circles back to what you said. It's based on our personal choices and what
Yes,
we are going to choose to do with that day.
absolutely.
Let's bring it up a notch to some fun and personal. Then we're going to wrap it up
Yeah.
with some last questions here. Outside the booth, you're a Midwest girl who loves coffee, your family, so happily married 20, how many years now?
23.
23 years. Fantastic. One daughter, three very spoiled cats, guided meditation, and even holding a blue lapis lazuli stone while recording. How do you balance that soothing voice side of you with the very spicy content you narrate?
um, I feel like it all truly does come from the same place. Um, I am I am a very passionate person. When when I do things, I go all in, and um, sometimes I have a hard time balancing certain things because I'm that way. But I know, and part of that balance is, I guess, we do have the spice and the steam and everything, but
Sure.
I will say you have to you can't just have, I mean, there are books that are just that. I have narrated a couple of them, but I will tell you, I crave the books that do balance that out. Um, and I feel that we do have to be able to access that part of ourselves too, even because we talk about, okay, the spiciness of things. All right. They're, you know, but not every time is it going to be the same.
Right.
Sometimes it's going to be slam you against the wall and do your thing, and sometimes it's going to be a very just, we have all night, baby, kind of
Mm,
thing, and take your time.
yeah.
And so there's different moments in the spice and the steam. And so just like in our life, we have all these things going on over here, but then we, balance it out with this. And on Sundays, I do, it's called Smut and Serenity Sundays.
Okay.
And I feature the first half is smut. Okay. I put on my cat ears in the booth. They're like little sparkly ones, and I get all like, all right, guys, come on in. Lexi Evans here. We're going to do some smut. And I feature an indie author. I love to do that, who has a spicy scene. And what we do, I have this prepped ahead of time. We do a Mad Lib style. And
Oh, what fun.
so think a scene that I would not be able to narrate live, okay, because how it's spicy. I have certain things and I ask the viewers coming in, I need your participation. So I need some body parts here. Give Lexi some body parts, you know. Oh yeah, that eyeball lid, amazing, you
Mm,
know. And then I have other things, verbs, nouns, all that stuff. And then I narrate it live as if it truly is a spice scene. um, Last night we had, that couldn't believe how amazing his bunk bed was, and that it was about as good as a rubber chicken, like, and we're all laughing. Oh my goodness. And then we had a scene about Mothman. There's just been awesome things, and we're all laughing so hard. And I truly believe laughter is medicine, you know?
100%.
Um, and so we do that. I feature an indie author. And then what I do is while I'm transitioning and I'm getting things ready to move the energy over to guided meditation, I let the author speak a little bit about their book and people can get connected. But then I move us on to the serenity portion and saying how important it is to be able to regulate our nervous system, to be able to have true self care beyond taking a bubble bath or doing a face mask or something, truly being able to just let go of that negativity, the stress, and things that we have built up in our body during that week and
Mhm.
let that go. And I can move my voice into a very soothing voice and
Mm.
calm and centering. And it's not too different from when you are narrating spice at times. You shift your energy. And
Right.
so that I love that you mentioned that because I do balance that out. And I had somebody last night being like, I had no idea what to expect, smut and serenity. Okay. But she said, you transitioned us effortlessly from that to this. And she was just kind of blown away. And she was new to Smut and Serenity Sunday. And
Right.
yeah, so again, there we go. I don't know if that answers everything, but
No, it did. No,
yeah.
100% it did. So let's say a listener is just now discovering your work. Which one of your audiobooks would you hand them first and why?
Oh boy. Okay. Oh, let me think about this one. One thing when I do have somebody ask me, okay, what book do you recommend? I want to listen to something. I do like to ask, do you have a favorite? Are you more into like fantasy romance? Do you like contemporary romance? Do you like, what's your pleasure pretty much? And
Mhm.
but I will say I do love books that are multicast or duet narrated. Um, Logan and I did do one recently that was really good. It was a Why Choose dark mafia paranormal romance. All right. That's a mouthful there.
That it is. I'm sort of
um,
going, okay, 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 oh, okay.
yes. That was called They're a Reckless Thief. And it had a little bit of everything and it was great. Um, to date, right now, I will say I recently had a book that was just released that featured a all-star male cast, including Teddy Hamilton.
Ooh,
Um, and all of it was duet multicast narration by Deborah Garland. And this is called Ring of Truth. And I would say that entire series, starting all the way from Savage King as the first book to the end of the series of Ring of Truth, with all of this big cast. We have J.F. Harding, Aaron Shedlock, Gregory Salinas, Logan Anair, Tyler Griffin, Troy Duran, and of course, Teddy Hamilton.
wow.
Yes, big cast. And then me.
That is an
So,
all-star lineup.
and Deborah she knows how to craft her books and the way she does. And it's just, she gets you in, you're on the edge of your seat. You're wondering what's happening. And she has that kind of talent. She knows how to write these books and then also the chemistry and everything that she brings. But I would say that series is one that I love as well. So I would definitely start with book one and go through. But yes, those are, I would say, those books right now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Last question for you,
Yeah.
Lexi. Where can people go to find you online? Because I'm pretty sure there's listeners out there going, my gosh, I've got to find her to narrate my book, or I want to join this TikTok live sensation that she keeps talking about. Where can they find you online, Lexi?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I am on the main social media pages. So you can find me as Lexi Evans audiobook narrator on TikTok, also on Instagram and Facebook. I have a profile on there as well. My main one right now is TikTok, but also I am really trying to make sure that I am diversifying myself as much. If last year taught us anything with social media platforms, they can be gone, depending on what's happening in our current world.
Too true.
And also, I am putting together a Discord server as well, where I'm exploring that right now too. So I always say if you follow me on any of the socials and want to follow me on Discord as well, just send me a message. And then I do have a website too, which is LexiEvansVoice.com. And you can find me there, samples. But I love talking with people who are interested, whether you're author, a fan, publisher, I'm your girl.
And don't worry, dear listener, in case if you didn't grab a pen in time or if you're driving, I've got you covered. Every single one of those links will be available for you in the show notes. All you got to do is pull up the show notes, click any of the links that are available, and you are well on your way. Lexi, thank you so much for being on the show today, my friend. It has been an absolute delight having you here.
Oh, thank you so much. You were an amazing host, and I just love talking with you too. So
Oh,
thank you for
I,
having me.
I greatly appreciate that. And thank you, dear listeners, for all of you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, I ask that you please rate, review, and subscribe to the show. It would help us reach more storytellers just like you. You can also drop us a line on social media or send me an email directly through my website, narratorjames.com, about who you'd love to hear next, or if you personally would like to be a guest on the show. Also, I host a Discord server where I showcase my behind-the-scenes work of audiobook narration. I invite you to click the link in the show notes as well, because I would love to have you as a part of that community. And as always, everybody has a story to tell, and I want to hear yours. So until I talk to you next time, dear listener, peace be with you.